So welcome everyone. It is day three, the end of day three of the Midlife Mama Conference. It has been a whirlwind 3 days. I am so honored that you have chosen to spend this time, and not only honored, but I honor you in the fact that you are taking the time to invest in yourself and prioritize um, listening to things that can just help you become a better person, a better human, and a better mama. So thank you for this time. And so I started off the program 3 days ago on Tuesday morning, sharing a little bit about myself. And I think I'm just going to do a quick recap for those that maybe weren't here at the beginning, and kind of just go back over and maybe share a little bit more that I didn't share. Um, Before I do that, though, it's interesting. We heard from over 20 women these past 3 days, and it was so fascinating to me that no matter what the topic, no matter what the expertise or the field that these women or professionals were in, whatever realm they were in, so many similar parallel themes kept popping up. So, first of all, we had a lot of talk about taking pause, right? Taking time to pause and be still and reflect. What did we learn from the pandemic when we were forced to pause? And what were those values that we were stripped down to, and what things do we want to remember to carry with us? In all areas, we talked about the importance of just taking small steps one at a time, right? Whether it was home organization, whether it was makeup, like, just pick your top three, whether it's your health, whether it's being more mindful. Every single presenter probably could have made a case for just making small steps and building on small wins, right? Listening to your intuition, listening to your gut, making time for yourself, making yourself a priority. And that doesn't mean forgetting about everybody else and being selfish. It means really being sure your cup is full before you can pour from your cup, right? Being your authentic self and kind of having a vision in your head of what that should be like, right? Resilience. How resilient are we? So I wanted to talk a little bit about what I do and why I do it. And what I do with the brand Peace and Plenty, which started as me writing about my feelings. What I have done now is I transitioned into being a health and life coach. And what I do is I help midlife mamas prioritize themselves so they feel lighter mentally and physically, so that they find purpose and freedom and let go of guilt and overwhelm. I help them find their balance of peace and plenty. And that's, in a nutshell, what I do. I'm going to say it again. So I'm a health and life coach, and I help midlife mamas prioritize themselves to feel lighter, both mentally and physically, find purpose and freedom, and let go of the guilt and the overwhelm. I help them find their balance of peace and plenty. So, in order to give you a little bit of more insight into why am I qualified to do this, aside from the fact that I am certified and I studied and worked and really immersed myself in becoming certified, I think that my life experience is what really helps me be the best coach that I can be. So it's interesting, this morning, I actually said to my husband, in this moment, I can sit here and say, I am at the most peace I have ever, I'm experiencing the most peace I've ever experienced in my life. And that might seem ironic because we're still coming out of a pandemic. I just lost my dad. I have two teenage daughters and a 10-year-old. I have one teenage daughter who just got her permit and started driving. I have a newer business, right? So this conference was new for me. I am actually starting the graduate program through the Health Coach Institute on June 7th. So I'm starting a transformational coaching method graduate program. Forget about all the other day-to-day stresses. So with all of this going on, how am I able to sit here and say that I'm at peace with such chaos really going on around me? And I'm not saying that I don't experience pain, sadness, anger, anxiety, but the difference now is I have an arsenal of tools and strategies that I can use and implement to follow my path and continue to look at that next version of myself, which I determined what she looks like and what she does and how she feels. And I keep myself and remind myself to stay in alignment with her and with her values. And that keeps me on the right path. So let's go back to the beginning though, because this was not always the case for me. So when I was a little girl, I had a very wonderful, normal childhood. I did have one experience with illness when I was 7 years old. I had something called Guillain-Barre. Basically, I had the flu or some type of virus. I don't know if we remember or know exactly. And basically, one day, I couldn't walk. So my parents took me to the pediatrician, which, believe it or not, is the same pediatric group that I now bring my girls to. My parents brought me to the pediatrician. They checked my reflexes, when they hit you in the knee, and I had no reflexes. So I don't have a ton of memories around this experience, but I do have some, and that was one of them. My dad carrying me, we drove into the city to Columbia Children's Hospital, and my dad carrying me in, and I remember getting a spinal tap because it was painful, and they diagnosed me with Guillain-Barre, which means that instead of my antibodies, your body produces antibodies to attack any type of virus or illness that you acquire. That's the antibody's job. Something goes haywire, and those antibodies attacked my central nervous system. So I was becoming paralyzed. And it starts from the feet and works its way up. And eventually I was so paralyzed that I couldn't move at all. I couldn't scratch my head. I do remember that, my head being itchy, not being able to scratch it. I did wind up in the ICU for a couple of days because they were worried about my lungs collapsing. So it was a very frightening experience for sure. I think I blocked a lot of it out. And as a parent now, I can appreciate what a traumatic experience that was for my parents. So the reason I'm bringing this up is to make a point a little bit later in the story of Janine. So I was able to, thank goodness, make a full recovery. I think I came home around Thanksgiving. I went into the hospital maybe October. So I was there maybe about 6 weeks, if I remember correctly. My mom could probably fill in the dots. And I was able to get physical therapy. I think I walked by Christmas to the Christmas tree with a walker. But I was able to bounce back and very healthy. So that was a big blessing. And I had a lot of blessings in my life, very normal, went to high school, went to Villanova, got my teaching degree, became a teacher, all the things. And I did suffer from IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, which, people said for years, oh, you're probably nervous. I said, no, 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 it's not, it's not related to my nerves. So I think as I got older, my anxiety definitely started to show a little bit. And actually, when I turned 40, I had my first true panic attack, anxiety attack. I was lucky enough to be surrounded by friends when it happened. So it was, I was luckily in a safe place. And I also had a friend who knew what was happening. I didn't know what was happening. I was asking her to take me to the hospital. It's a terrifying experience for anybody who's ever been through a panic attack. Was the most terrifying experience I think I've had thus far. So I wasn't really sure what that was all about. There were some other stressors going on. My daughter Ella had had a seizure, and witnessing that was very traumatic. And in hindsight, after talking with some health professionals, seeing your child experience something traumatic like that was likely a trigger for me. And I guess there were some unresolved traumas for me that I never looked at it as a trauma. My psychologist or psychiatrist said, well, what do you remember about, being paralyzed or being, you went from a 7-year-old to all of a sudden not being able to walk. And I don't remember it as a traumatizing experience, but I guess, that's how trauma works. He said, what do you remember? I said, I remember laying in the bed and watching the window because my mom had to go to work for the health insurance, and my dad would go home and take care of my brother, but he'd come back in the morning or someone would come back. So I said, I remember sitting and watching the hospital window when it was dark, and I would wait for the sun to come up because I knew somebody would be coming. So he said, yeah, that's a pretty significant, for a 7-year-old, that's a pretty traumatic experience. So I don't know why I never looked at it that way, but when he pointed that out, I think that it was definitely an underlying issue that came to light once I had kids. And I think as we get older, sometimes these anxieties and other types of things pop up for us that we really weren't expecting. So through a little bit of therapy, through the magic of Lexapro, again, I'm going to go back to Glennon Doyle. She always says, Jesus loves me, this I know, for he gave me Lexapro. So there is absolutely nothing wrong. I know it's Mental Health Awareness Month, so I love to kind of give that little shout out that people are there to help you, and medicine is there for a reason, and it's there to help you. So just to continue on a little further, listen, I have a completely full and blessed life, but I still definitely had an underlying feeling of anxiety and something just kind of being out of alignment. And then I was looking to be more fulfilled. So I wound up, getting the writing job with Rivertown. I started the blog because I knew I had just a lot inside that I wanted to get out and share. And maybe talking more about stuff in the open and being authentic would help instead of bottling everything up. But that definitely doesn't help anxiety. So I think, last summer was definitely a turning point for me. Well, it was the pandemic, obviously. And it was wonderful, on one hand to be at home with everybody, but it was definitely a lot. And my husband's job, there was a lot of stress on him. And then my dad got sick. And I was very close with my dad, still am. And that was hard. It's very hard to watch the strongest person in your life, the one who carried you to the hospital. It's hard. And especially to watch somebody decline, somebody so strong decline like that. So it was a really hard few months. But still within that time, I knew, kept saying to Dave, like, I know I'm meant to do something else. I know this blog is for a reason. It's not just a blog. And it's not just a brand. This idea of peace and plenty, like this is truly like balance. That's truly what I feel like all of our lives should be based around, right? I mean, so many ways you can explain balance, whether it's with your diet, work hard, play hard. There's so many avenues, but it really, that's what I truly believe life is about, is finding that balance. And when something's out of whack, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel aligned. So through you, if you've seen any of the sessions earlier, I talked to, I wound up connecting with Dr. Grafman, who connected me with this spiritually based business coach who really helped me focus in on what it is I wanted to do. And through a little bit of work with her and through, creating that vision of what I wanted, and through seeing my dad suffer with his health, I came to the universe sent me the sign that I was meant to look into coaching and look into health and life coaching. And so I enrolled last summer. I dove right in, feet first. And what I loved about this program is that I had to go through part of the certification as you're learning is you are going through you're receiving the coaching that you'll be teaching. And that was very important to me because as a teacher and as a staff developer, I always said I would never ask my students to do something that I hadn't done myself. So I have been through this coaching journey with my own intuitive coach. And she was really amazing. I mean, yes, I wanted to get healthier and lose some weight, which I'm still working on. And it's happening, but slowly, the way it should happen. But so much came out of that coaching experience that she was able. So what a coach does and what she did for me was basically hold a mirror to me. And just by asking the right questions, I was able to really kind of realize what was going on. And for me, what was going on is I feel like I have to do everything well. I am just like the good girl, the teacher. I did all the things right. I'm the mom. I'm, I am a very faithful person. So I felt this pressure to do it all and do it well. And she really kept shining that mirror back on me to say, I think maybe you need to lighten up on yourself. I think you need to let a few things go. And lo and behold, through those months of working with her, my post, The Good Girl, was born. And that was really my manifesto of me saying to the world, I'm not perfect. Here I am as I am. I'm vulnerable. When you experience loss, it really changes your perspective on everything because nothing is guaranteed. I have no idea if I'm going to be here tomorrow. None of us do. And I'm not saying that to be morbid. I'm saying that because why waste another day not being your truest, most authentic self and finding all the peace and all the plenty that you can? So, in a very long-winded way, that was how I came to be the health and life coach that I am today. And I'm still on my own journey every day. But I am like I said at the beginning, I really feel like I'm finally in a place where I feel free. I can speak my truth. I can be authentic. I am perfectly imperfect, just like every one of you listening. We're all perfectly imperfect. We were made with our unique gifts. There are no accidents. We're all here for a purpose. And I think for me, part of my journey was finding my purpose. And that might be true for some of you, but it might not. You might just be looking for a little more peace, or maybe truly what would give you peace is focusing on your health. Or maybe it's parts of your life that just need to be nourished more, or maybe you've lost your way. So whatever your situation might be, my passion is helping people achieve the things that I've been able to accomplish with the help of a coach, right? So again, just helping you prioritize yourself, helping you feel a lighter load, whether that be physically or mentally, helping you find purpose and freedom and letting go of that guilt, really letting things go. We heard all of these. I did not plan it this way, but we heard all of these themes come out this week. So I think what I'd like to just quickly talk about is my program and what I do. So how do I do this, right? How do I, what do I do that gets people to be on this same journey that I was on? So my one-on-one coaching program is called the Peace and Plenty Mind and Body Transformation. And so it's different for everyone and what they're looking for. So some people, like I said, are really focused on the health. But I will tell you, it's very interesting that even when you're focused on your health, that also includes your mental health and a lot of the reasons why we are making the decisions that we do and why we have the habits we do, right? So we talked at the beginning of the week about your values and your vision and really creating that vision for yourself. So that's basically what I do at the very beginning of my work with somebody. So if you'll indulge me, let's take a few minutes and I'd like you to really reflect upon where you are in your life right now, okay? So there's no way to mess this up. This is just for, like, sit. I hope you're sitting or walking or just relaxing and really giving this some thought, okay? So think about where you are, and if you could wave a magic wand and really get what you want, especially after hearing this conference this week, if you could really get what you want in the next 90 days, in about 3 months, what would that look like for you? If you have the Midlife Mama Manual or a journal or paper and you want to write it down, that would be awesome, because we heard from a lot of people about writing down. But otherwise, just keep it in your head. So envision that version of you, okay? Actually step into that version of you, and when you wave that magic wand and you see what she looks like, what does that feel like? How would it make a difference both in your life and the lives of other important people around you if you got this outcome? What will having that do for you? And what might unfold for you then in your relationships, in your work, in your social life? And by the way, when I say in your relationships, I mean your relationship with yourself. If you heard Erica Mather, that's a really important one. Imagine you did have that blank, fill in the blank of whatever you thought about when I first said you wave the magic wand and get what you want. Let's say you got that. What else would open up in your life for you? What could you do in your life that you can't do right now? So those are the big questions that I like to start out with my clients. So we look at that desired outcome, and then the next step is figuring out what's blocking you from getting there, right? So here's where you are now today, and then you have this vision of where you want to be. What's in the middle? What's getting in your way? What's stopping you? What's slowing you down? What's your biggest challenge? And how is it impacting your daily life right now? And maybe you've tried in the past, and those are some of the things that got in your way. And you feel like, well, it didn't work, or I'll never get there. That's part of my job, is to help you get from where you are now, to get unstuck and get to that next best version of you, right? Because some of these problems could be costing you something. It could be costing relationships, relationship with yourself, maybe with your spouse, maybe with your children, maybe at work. Maybe these problems could be costing you something financially. Maybe if it's health related, we wind up spending a lot of money on, fixing health problems that maybe we could address earlier on. So to be able to actually save that relationship, or save that money, or save that time, would be pretty important, I could imagine. So basically what I do is, on this journey, I help you figure out how we get from, I know I've said it again, but I want to keep repeating it, from where you are now to that next best version of yourself. And what I do is I share with you a way to do that that's insightful and supportive, and would create some really aha moments for you. So the reason that some programs are really effective they're based on research, that the programs that get the best results, the most successful ones, have 3 proven factors. I'm thinking of things like Weight Watchers, or AA, right? All of these tried and true programs, and there's many more, have these 3 kind of pillars. So the first one is they have the right system, or the right program in place. 2, they provide the right support, whether it's a group or an individual coach. 3, they provide the right accountability. So that first one, the right system, means taking small steps, which we've talked about all week, in the right order, that support your physical and emotional day-to-day habits, right? The right support means somebody that's there to encourage you when you're feeling stuck, like a coach. It means someone who can empathize because they've been where you've been and they felt what you're feeling. And then the right accountability is just that. It's just somebody to kind of give you that pep talk, give you that little maybe kick in the butt. Because let's be honest, most of us know what to do, and we hear all the things we've heard all week. It's just, we can't stick with it for an extended period of time, right? Like, everybody's probably sitting here saying, if I were to ask you, what's one thing you could be doing for yourself that you haven't been, that would have a big impact on your body, your mind, your mood? I'm sure you could think of more than one thing, especially after these 3 days, right? So you know what to do, but without accountability, we just don't always follow through. We fall into ruts. So it's very helpful to have someone to hold you to the highest version of yourself, right? And that's why it's important to have a coach. That's what I do for my clients. I 110% believe that every one of my clients can get to that next version of themselves, without a doubt. Everybody has that power within them. It's just tapping into it, right? So getting back to the system, that first step is my 90-day program, the Mind and Body program. And that's where this system comes in. It's just like the right steps in the right order, right? So there's basically 3 huge stepping stones that are my steps. If you're hard to work with me, there are lots of little steps that you'll take along the way, but I'm talking about the system, okay? So step 1 is that we set up conditions for inevitable success, right? When you have the conditions in place, the follow through becomes a lot easier. And we'll look at making you a priority again within the context of your busy life, right? Because I am a busy mama just like you, and we have to make it realistic. And I want to empower you to take charge of your life and your health without compromising everything else. And that's why my clients get results with this program, because we consistently consider how everything fits in: family, friends, holidays, parties, whatever. Because sometimes you might feel like you have to choose, right? But it doesn't have to be either or. It can be both and. And that's why I'm committed to this being a sustainable change. Whatever change it is you're looking to make, I'm committed to having it be sustainable for your particular lifestyle. Okay. And the second stepping stone is we talk about, if it's your health, we look at foods and what to eat and what works for your body, because everybody's different. Okay. If it's more, you really want to talk about things going on in your life and life coaching, then we look at the wheel of life, and we look at the areas of your life and take a look at what's being fulfilled and what's not. Where do we need some more nourishment? And then the third big stepping stone is to learn, as you learn those tools, by the way, in step 2, whether it's more towards health, whether it's more towards life, whatever it is, that's the part where I give you tools and strategies. In that third step, this is where we look at how to use those consistently and turn them into habits and behaviors that last. So that those old beliefs, those old stories, that's where we work through those and look at the new identity, right? So in a very long explanation, but I wanted you to really get the clear picture of what it is I do and what I've been through, because it is very successful for those reasons, right? By the end of those 90 days, you have different rituals, different habits. You feel a transformation. That's why I call it the transformation. And we're not looking at like quick fix kinds of things. We're looking at making those lasting changes. Okay. And that's my job. It's to try to help people follow through in a way that they haven't before. It's an invitation to get really curious about, and not judgmental. That I will stress till the cows come home. There's no judgment allowed in this program. Even when you do things that seem out of alignment with our goal, with your vision, we always go back at it and we get curious about it, about why, right? And we ask the questions and we learn a lot. And then when you learn a lot, then you can grow, which is what I've been through and why I'm able to be in this place today. So that being said, if this sounds like something that's resonating with you, if this sounds like something that you would like to be involved in, I am going to make an offer. So my program, the regular price for the 90-day program is $14.97. Some people also just split it up into monthly payments. I'm always willing to work like that. However, I have decided that for this Midlife Mama Conference, for the first 6 attendees, so you have to be registered for the conference, for the first 6 people that sign up for the Peace and Plenty 90-day program, I will be taking $500 off that price, which brings the investment in yourself down to $997. So I am going to be, I don't know if I can drop the link in here. I'm going to put the link on the Facebook group. Maybe I can drop the link in here. So yeah, I'm going to try to drop the link in here. And then I wanted to also add, now, if this sounds interesting to you, but you aren't ready to just jump, you want to hear more, I have a complimentary 30-minute discovery call with me that I am offering. And basically we just chat on the phone. It's a there's no pressure. It's just a exactly what it's called, a discovery call for you to ask more questions, for me to ask you more questions and see what your goals are, what you want your outcomes to be, and see if we would be a good fit for each other. So I will also drop a link for my calendar in there to set up that 30-minute call. I will remind you though that $500 off is for the first 6 clients only. And then one more added bonus, because I do like to reward. I know we talked about that a little bit. I think that was with Jill, like in enforcing behaviors. So for those of you that really feel like you've gone through this and you're kind of in that place where you're like, yes, I know this is what I want to do, and you're ready to make the commitment, for any of those first 6 who sign up for the program within the next 24 hours, you will get a bonus. So I also have a 14-day body reset program. I ran one recently. I'll run it for you privately, or I am also in the middle of working on finishing up a 14-day redefine yourself program, which is kind of based on my Good Girl post, which I'll also share in the Facebook group. So again, and those programs are both valued at $297. So you'll get those for free if you sign up in the next 24 hours. I think it's easier for me, rather than the chat, I'm going to put all this information in the Facebook group. So even if you're watching this on the replay, you can go back and get all the information there. I know it's a lot to share at once, so I'll keep it concise, maybe in one post on the Facebook group. Okay, so that is enough about my program. It is 4:45. We have about 15 minutes. I want to go be sure that I have all of the raffles set up properly and have everybody's name put in. So I'm going to sign off for a few, and I will see you guys back here in about 15 minutes. Let me just answer this in the chat. All right. See you all in a bit.